Okay, now today we will learn the difference between Linux and Unix operating system. We will discuss one by one. Let's see first about the Linux. As you can see, Linux is an open source, means anyone can download from the internet, free to use, which is free to use means no cost for this operating system to use. Multitasking, multi-user operating system. Linux is a multitasking operating system, means we can perform multiple tasks at a time, and many users can use this type of operating system. Okay, now next thing is mostly this type of operating system used for desktop servers, smartphones to mainframes. KDE, Genome, LXDE, XFCE, Unity, Mate are supported by GUI. These are the graphical user interface which is available in Linux, that is KDE, Genome, LXDE, XFCE, Unity and Mate. Okay, these are the supported graphical user interface in the Linux. Now let's talk about the when Linux comes. Okay, in 1991 it was developed by Linus Torvalds. Linus Torvalds is the developer of the Linux operating system, which is developed in 1991. So Linux is the newest than the Unix operating system. Unix was developed in 1969. So we can say Linux is the newest than the Unix. Now, if we talk about the files format that's supported by the Linux, that are the ext2, ext3, ext4, jfs, riserfs, xfs, etrfs, FAT32, and NTFS files are supported by Linux operating system. Bash. Bash means born again shell, is the default shell in the Linux. Initially, Intel's x64, x66, x86, x86 H/W processor was for Linux, but nowadays supports 20 plus processor families. Okay, initially Linux operating system supports the processor, that is x86 H/W processor, and nowadays it supports around 20 plus processor families. If we talk about the examples for the Linux, these are the examples, that is Ubuntu is there for Linux, CentOS is there for Linux, Debian, Fedora, Slackware, Mint, Ubuntu Arc, Open Source, Red Hat, Slackle, Pure OS, Mageia, PC Linux OS, Puppy, Jorin, Bunsen Labs, Kubuntu, Manjaro, Bodhi, Netrunner, Neptune, Kali Linux is there, Black Lab is there, and Solus. Okay, these are the examples for the Linux. Now let's talk about the Unix operating system. Unix is not open source, means nobody can download from the internet without the license. Open source means there is a need for the license, okay, from the developer, license to use. Okay, it is not free of cost. You have to pay for this operating system to use. That is also multitasking like a Linux, multi-user line like a Linux operating system. So only the difference is between Unix and Linux is Unix is not an open source, while Linux is open source. There is a license for the Unix, but there is no license required for the Linux. It is similar to multitasking, multi-user like Linux. Mostly it is used in desktop servers, workstations, etc. Initially it was command-based operating system. Now Unix have genome graphical user interface. Okay. Now if we talk about the who developed this Unix operating system and when it was developed. So Unix developed in 1969 by Ken Thompson. So we can say Unix is the oldest than the Linux, which is developed in 1991. Now if we talk about the what are the files supported by Unix operating system and which one is the default shell for this Unix operating system. Let's see, fs.gpfs, hfs, hfs plus, ufs, xfs, and zfs files are supported by the Unix operating system. Bash means born again shell is the default shell for the Unix like in Linux. PA RISC and Titanium processor families supported by the Unix. Now let's see the examples for this uh, Unix operating system is /UX Apple 1986, MX Commodore 1990, Atari Unix 1989, AIX IBM Acorn Unix 1989, AIX IBM Acorn Darwin DG/UX Data Journal 1985, Dragonfly BSD Domain/OS Mac OS X Server SCO Open Server Synix, which is developed in 1983, Solaris Sun 1980s. These are the examples, okay, for the Unix operating system. Now I think the concept clear to you. If you have any doubts, you can ask in the comment section. Okay, I will explain the difference between Linux and Unix operating system more clearly. Okay, now thanks for watching this